The stars around the UNS Vanguard were silent when the signal arrived. No one expected anything unusual that day. The exploration ship was crossing the far edge of the Perseus Arm, mapping dead planets and abandoned star systems. Most days felt the same long hours, cold metal corridors, and the endless darkness of space pressing against the windows. But then the distress call broke through the silence. It started as a soft humming noise on the comms deck. Ensign Leon was half asleep at her station when her screen flickered. Strange symbols danced across the interface, symbols she didn't recognize. She rubbed her eyes, thinking it was some kind of glitch. Then the humming grew louder. Steady, urgent, and ancient. "Commander Hale," she called, her voice tense. "You need to see this." Commander Elias Hale arrived within seconds. He was known among the crew for two things: his calm in chaos, and his tendency to run toward danger instead of away from it. He leaned over the console, eyes narrowing. "What am I looking at?" "It's a distress signal," Leon said slowly. "But the system can't translate it. The language isn't in our database." Hale tapped a few keys, bringing up spectral analysis. The signal carried energy patterns, unlike anything human-made. They pulsed like a heartbeat, steady, rhythmic. "Try cross-referencing with extinct civilizations," Hale ordered. Leon did. When the results appeared, both of them froze. Aurelian, a species believed gone for over 12,000 years. The Aurelians had once ruled hundreds of star systems. Their technology was legendary bioarchitecture, living starships, networks grown like forests. And then, almost overnight, they vanished. All records blamed a self-spreading nanoplague that corrupted their DNA and wiped them out. Yet here was an Aurelian distress signal, fresh and active. Hale straightened. "Wake the captain." By the time Captain Rios reached the comms deck, the crew had already traced the signal. It came from a derelict object floating near a dying blue star. Its design matched old Aurelian Ark ships' massive vessels meant to preserve life during emergencies. Rios looked at the crew and made the decision instantly. "Set a course. We're answering this." The Ark ship was a giant skeleton drifting in space. As the Vanguard approached, Hale studied the long, organic curves of the ship's hull. It looked less like metal and more like bone. The surface was cracked, scarred, and full of dark openings that resembled wounds. Thick clusters of dormant biotissue clung to the frame like dried vines. Many crew members felt uneasy just looking at it. "This place gives me chills," muttered Lieutenant Mira, one of the science officers. "It's a tomb." Hale replied quietly. "But tombs don't send distress calls." A docking tunnel was extended. The moment it clamped onto the Ark ship, the air smelled faintly of something sweet and old, like long-forgotten flowers. Hale led the away team inside. The corridors of the Ark ship were dim, shaped like the inside of a massive living organism. Their flashlights reflected off surfaces that appeared grown rather than built. Strange veins ran along the walls, pulsing weakly as though the ship still clung to life. Mira scanned the area. "Energy readings are unstable. Something is active, deep inside. Let's move," Hale said. They traveled deeper, stepping over collapsed structures and dried remnants of what once might have been biotechnology. The silence felt heavy, like the ship was holding its breath. When they reached the central chamber, they stopped. A pod, large, oval, and cracked, sat at the center. It glowed faintly with golden light. Hale approached it slowly. Inside the pod, half hidden beneath crystal-like layers, lay a figure, a humanoid. Tall, slender, skin faintly luminescent, with soft silver patterns, eyes closed, breathing shallow. "An Aurelian. Is she alive?" one of the medics whispered. Hale studied the life signs appearing on Mira's scanner. "Yes," he said. Barely. They began the extraction process. As the crystal layers dissolved, the Aurelian woman stirred. Her eyes opened bright gold, filled with ancient intelligence and exhaustion. For a moment she simply stared at the humans surrounding her, confusion and fear flickering across her face. Hale raised his hands in a calming gesture. "We're here to help." Her gaze locked onto him. The golden markings on her skin brightened for a second, almost as if reacting to his presence. The ship's decaying walls gave a low tremor, like something awakening in response. Mira noticed it too. "Commander, something in this ship just activated." But the Aurelian woman did not look away from Hale. She watched him with a strange expression, part recognition, part hope, and part something he couldn't identify. Her breathing steadied as if his presence alone anchored her. Then she whispered a single word. "Resonant." Hale frowned. "What?" She tried again, her voice fragile. Before Hale could ask further, the floor shuddered violently. Alarms blared on their scanners. "The nanoplague," Mira shouted. "Residual strains are reactivating. We need to leave now." "No." Hale lifted the Aurelian woman carefully. She was weak, but conscious enough to cling to his uniform, her eyes still fixed on him. As they rushed through the collapsing organic corridors, she spoke again, breathless and urgent. "I am Saras. Last fertile, last uncorrupted of my kind." Her hand trembled as she clutched the front of Hale's armor. "Your resonance. It woke me. It may save us. Or doom us." Hale didn't understand, but there was no time to question it. He carried her into the docking tunnel as the Ark ship shook behind them. The moment the hatch sealed and the vanguard detached, the ancient vessel finally gave way. The Ark ship broke apart in a silent explosion of dust and fading golden light. On the vanguard's medbay table, Saras lay breathing softly. Her eyes fluttered open once, landing on Hale with the same intense, searching look she gave him the first moment. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't fearful. It was the look of someone who had just found the last variable that mattered. And Hale felt a quiet dread settle inside him, because he sensed something too. Whatever was coming next, humanity was already involved far deeper than planned. The medbay of the UNS Vanguard felt unusually quiet after the rescue. Machines hummed softly, lights pulsed in calm blue patterns, and the air smelled faintly of disinfectant and recycled oxygen. But under that calm surface, the crew felt uneasy. Something about the Aurelian survivor Saras made the entire ship feel tense. Commander Elias Hale stood beside her bed, arms crossed, as he observed the medical readings. Saras looked peaceful now, but her earlier words kept repeating in his mind. "You are resonant." He didn't know what she meant, yet the term clung to him like a shadow. Saras stirred. The golden lines on her skin glowed softly, tracing patterns like ancient maps. Her eyes opened slowly, bright gold, intelligent, wary. She looked at the room first, then at the medics nearby, and then her gaze found Hale, and locked onto him again with that same intense focus. Dr. Yara, the chief medical officer, approached with a friendly but cautious expression. "Saras, you're safe. You're aboard a human vessel. Do you understand?" Saras blinked, her throat dry. "Human, yes. I remember your kind in the old records. You're the last uncorrupted member of your species," Yara continued gently. "We want to understand what happened to your people." Saras didn't answer immediately. She turned her head slightly, watching Hale more than the doctor. Her voice was soft when she finally spoke. "The nanoplague. It devoured us. It rewrote our DNA. Millions fell before we understood its purpose." Mira, standing near the wall, frowned. "Purpose? Are you saying it was designed?" Saras nodded weakly. "It learned. It adapted. It hunted the patterns of Aurelian genetics. When we created biocores and neural forests, the plague consumed them too." Hale stepped forward. But you survived. How? I was born different, she whispered. My genetic code formed a natural barrier. My body rejected the plague. My people called me fertile, capable of restoring the original DNA if our species ever fell. Hale absorbed this slowly. So, you were placed in the Ark ship for protection. Yes, Saras said quietly, until your presence woke me. Her gaze deepened, filled with something like confusion and curiosity. She lifted a hand slightly, pointing toward him. You are resonant. Your DNA frequency interacts with Aurelian biosystems. It responded to you. It matched you. Hale raised an eyebrow. Human DNA shouldn't match anything Aurelian. That is what makes this impossible, Saras whispered. The room fell silent. Hours later, Hale stood in the ship's science lab with Captain Rios, Mira, and a holographic image of Saras's genetic scans floating above the table. The room was filled with screens, glowing diagrams, and soft beeping from data processors. Mira tapped the hologram. Look here. This structure in Saras's genetic code is what gives her resistance to the nanoplague. A normal Aurelian genome collapses at this point, but not hers. Rios folded his arms. And what about the part involving Hale? Mira hesitated, glancing at the commander. This is where it gets strange. Human DNA doesn't have the same structures as Aurelian DNA. But look. She highlighted a section. A cluster of human genetic markers pulsed in blue. Then she overlapped them with a portion of Aurelian bionetwork coding, glowing gold. The patterns aligned almost perfectly. Rios raised an eyebrow. You're telling me humans share genetic compatibility with extinct aliens? No, Mira said firmly. Humans aren't compatible with Aurelians. Hale is. A heavy silence followed. Hale looked between them. How is that possible? Mira shook her head. A rare mutation, maybe. Something about your immune nanotech markers creates a matching frequency. It's like your body and Aurelian biotech speak a similar language. Rios sighed. I don't like coincidences this big. Neither did Hale. Before anyone could say more, the ship's lights flickered. Warning alarms began to echo through the corridors. Biohazard alert. Unknown contamination detected. Hale and the others sprinted toward the medbay. The scene inside the medbay was chaotic. Machines flickered. Screens glitched. And strange black strands pulsed through the air filtration vents. They looked like living smoke, thin, twisting, searching. The nanoplague. Saras sat upright on the bed, fear in her eyes as she watched the black strands crawl along the ceiling. It has followed me, she whispered. Even in small amounts. It hunts Aurelian DNA. Yara shouted, Seal the medbay. Containment fields active. Blue barriers snapped into place around the room, slowing the plague tendrils but not stopping them. The black strands gathered, swirling like a storm, trying to reach Saras. Hale moved without thinking. He placed himself directly between Saras and the advancing nanoplague. Commander, Yara shouted. Don't. But something unexpected happened. The nanoplague tendrils stopped. They twisted in the air, curling like they were confused. They drifted toward Hale, reaching for him, but when they touched his skin, they recoiled violently as if burned. Saras gasped. Your resonance. It repels them. Hale stared at the black strands as they backed away, trembling like frightened animals. Why? What does it want? It wants me, Saras whispered. The last uncorrupted genome. But you are something new to it. Something incompatible. Rios arrived with security officers. The plague tendrils retreated to the ceiling vents, dissolving back into darkness as the containment systems finally took effect. The medbay alarms quieted. Everyone stared at Hale, some in shock, others in awe. Saras looked at him with a new expression, one filled with certainty and worry. Commander Hale, you were not just a coincidence. You are part of the solution, or the last obstacle the plague cannot calculate. Hale swallowed. What does that mean? It means, Saras said softly, that the future of my people, and maybe your own, may now depend on you. Later, when the crisis settled, Hale and Saras sat in a quiet observation chamber. Stars passed slowly outside the window, casting a silver glow across the room. Saras spoke first. The plague reacts to you in ways it never reacted to Aurelians. You disrupt it. You confuse it. And you think this resonance could help you rebuild your species? She shook her head. It could help stop the plague forever. Hale looked out at the stars. Why me? Saras folded her hands gently. Because the universe is strange. Because sometimes evolution makes mistakes that turn into miracles. Because somehow, across thousands of years, your DNA carries the one pattern my species cannot create. She looked at him with calm, serious eyes. And because when I woke, it was your presence I sensed first. Hale didn't know what destiny meant, but he knew one thing. Humanity was now tied to the Aurelian's fate whether he liked it or not. The UNS Vanguard sailed through deep space with quiet engines. But the silence inside the ship felt heavier than ever. Every crew member knew the nanoplague was somewhere on board, hidden in vents, shadows, or the ship's old air filters. It was learning. It was waiting. And it wanted Saras. Commander Elias Hale stood on the bridge, watching a hologram of the ship rotating slowly. Red warning points blinked across the image, showing places where the plague's traces had been detected. The red marks slowly spread outward, like ink in water. Captain Rios rubbed his forehead. Every time we clean one area, it pops up again somewhere else. It's not random. It's thinking, Mira said quietly from the science station. Or, at least reacting with purpose. Hale crossed his arms. Saras said the plague was adaptive. It reacted to Aurelian DNA like a predator. And now, it's reacting to us. Rios looked at Hale seriously. But it avoids you. Hale didn't deny it. The earlier encounter in the medbay made everything clear. It recognizes my DNA as incompatible. It doesn't know how to process me. Afterway. Mira tapped her console. Saras wants to speak with both of you. She says she remembered something important from the Ark ship's biocore. Rios nodded. They found Saras in the observation chamber, sitting near the wide glass window. The galaxy stretched before her like a glittering ocean. The golden lines on her skin glowed brighter today, as if recovering strength. When Hale entered, her eyes lifted immediately, reading him, studying him. As if his presence created some kind of order in her world. I know what the plague is doing, she said before anyone even asked. Rio stepped forward. What did you remember? Saras placed a hand over her heart, the golden light pulsing beneath her palm. The plague was not simply a disease. It was a weapon. It was made to destroy my species from the inside out. Someone, or something, designed it. Hale's jaw tightened. You're telling me the extinction of your people was planned? Yes, Saras whispered. It targeted our bio-networks, our living ships, our neural forests, everything that made us strong. Mira frowned. Then why hasn't it already consumed our ship? Saras shook her head. It doesn't understand human systems, and it doesn't understand him. Her gaze moved to Hale. To the plague, you are a paradox, something it cannot decode. Rios leaned forward. Can we use that to stop it? This time Saras stood, weak but determined. Perhaps. The Ark ship's biocore held the blueprint of a defense system my people were building before the plague wiped them out. But the biocore is dying. Only an interface with compatible DNA can activate it. Mira looked stunned. You mean Aurelian DNA? Saras nodded. And someone who can stabilize the connection. Her eyes returned to Hale. Your resonance harmonizes with my genome. You can anchor the system so the plague cannot corrupt it again. Hale hesitated. You're asking me to link my mind to alien biotechnology. A maker. Yes, Saras said softly. If we do not, the plague will evolve further. It will learn how to consume humans too. The room fell silent. Hale finally nodded. Tell me what I need to do. The biocore chamber was one of the darkest rooms on the Vanguard. It wasn't originally meant for alien technology, but Mira and the engineering team had cleared out all human equipment to make room for the damaged Aurelian core they recovered from the Ark ship before it collapsed. The biocore looked like a giant translucent heart suspended inside a cage of broken crystal branches. It pulsed faintly, struggling to stay alive. Yara, the doctor, checked Saras's vitals. Are you sure you're strong enough for this? Saras smiled sadly. I am the last of my kind. If not me, then no one. Hale stepped beside her. Then let's finish this. As Saras reached toward the biocore, the golden lines on her skin brightened. The heart-like structure responded instantly, glowing softly. But its light flickered, unstable. It cannot stabilize, Saras whispered. Hale touched the biocore's surface. It was warm, like living tissue. For a moment, nothing happened. And then the entire chamber lit up. Golden energy surged through the crystal branches, and blue light spread beneath Hale's hand, merging with the gold. The biocore pulsed stronger, smoother, as if finding rhythm. Mira watched with awe. His resonance is syncing with it. But something else happened too. The plague sensed the activation. The lights flickered. Black strands seeped from the ventilation shafts. They slithered across the ceiling like living shadows, merging into a larger shape. Rios shouted, "Seal the chamber!" Too late. The plague tendrils crashed downward, swirling in a storm of black dust. They shot toward Saras, drawn to her DNA. Hale reacted instantly. He stepped between Saras and the tendrils. The plague struck him like a wave, but instead of harming him, it recoiled again, hissing like a creature in pain. Tendrils twisted violently, confused by his presence. Unable to classify him, Saras reached out, grabbing Hale's arm. "Stay with me. The biocore needs your resonance to finish activating." Hale gritted his teeth as the plague thickened in front of him, forming a dark cloud that blocked the exit. It pulsed like a living storm. "It's trying to separate us," Saras said. "It knows we are close to destroying it." Hale stood firm. "Then we don't give it the chance." The biocore glowed brighter. The golden and blue lights merged, rising in waves through the crystal branches. Saras's voice trembled. "The core is almost ready, but we must trigger the override together." "How?" Hale asked. "Place your hand with mine." He did. Their combined touch sent a fierce shockwave through the biocore. Light exploded outward, filling the chamber with blinding radiance. The plague tendrils shrieked in silent vibrations, backing away, dissolving at the edges. But the plague did not give up. It condensed into one final mass, a swirling black sphere. It hurled itself directly at Saras. Hale stepped in front of her again, shielding her with his body. The plague hit him full force. The chamber shook. The lights sputtered. Saras cried out, grabbing his arm with both hands. "Hale! Do not let go! You must hold the resonance!" Hale clenched his jaw, fighting the plague's pressure. It tried to enter his skin, his blood, his mind, but every time it touched his cells, it was thrown back, repelled by the strange pattern in his DNA. Saras pressed her forehead against his shoulder, whispering desperately, "Just a moment longer." The biocore let out a thunderous pulse of golden blue energy. The plague screamed, then exploded into dust. Silence fell. Saras stumbled, breath shaky. Hale caught her before she collapsed. Mira checked the readings. "The plague is gone, at least from this section of the ship. Rios exhaled with relief. Then we bought ourselves time. Saras looked up at Hale with tired, grateful eyes. You anchored the biocore, she whispered. Now, we can finish what my people began. Hale nodded, breathing hard. This wasn't over. But now they finally had a way to fight back. The UNS Vanguard drifted in silence near a dead star. Its engines dimmed to minimal power. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. For the first time since rescuing Saras, the crew felt they had a real chance of surviving the ancient threat that had destroyed her people. Commander Elias Hale stood in the biocore chamber again. The heart-like structure now pulsed bright and steady, filled with gold and blue light. It was alive, more alive than it had been in thousands of years. The merge of human and Aurelian energy had awakened it fully. Saras approached slowly, her steps still weak but her posture steady. The golden lines on her skin shone stronger than ever, dancing like shifting constellations. Hale glanced at her. How are you feeling? She gave a small smile. Stronger. The biocore has stabilized my genome. It has also restored memories, knowledge from the ancestors. Mira, standing beside the console, looked up sharply. Memories? What kind? Saras touched the glowing crystal branches gently. Everything my people stored in the core. Histories, designs, calculations, and one final plan. Captain Rios stepped inside the chamber, hands clasped behind his back. We're ready when you are, Saras. What's the plan? Saras turned to face them all. The nanoplague has adapted for thousands of years. It survives by consuming the resonant coding of my species. If we do nothing, it will eventually spread beyond this ship, maybe across the galaxy again. Rios nodded grimly. Then we stop it here. Yes, Saras said softly. And only one path remains. The biocore contains a counter-signal, a harmonic wave that can rewrite the plague's structure. It can turn the plague into dormant dust. Mira blinked. Why didn't the Aurelians use this before? Saras lowered her eyes. They tried. But the plague adapted faster than they could generate the wave. The core needed a stabilizer, someone who could confuse the plague long enough for the signal to activate. Her gaze moved to Hale. Everyone else followed her eyes. Rios whispered, His resonance. Saras nodded. Your DNA disrupts the plague's ability to evolve. You are the variable it cannot read. Hale exhaled slowly. So I just stand near the core again? It is more than that, Saras said quietly. This time, you must link with me fully. Our minds must join with the biocore. Only combined resonance can shape the countersignal. Hale stared at her. Join our minds? In a safe, controlled way, Saras assured him. It is not painful. The core will do the connection. You and I will only guide it. Rios crossed his arms. And the risk? Saras hesitated before answering. If the core overloads, it could destroy us both. End quote. Mira added. And if it doesn't work, the plague might evolve past even Hale's resistance. Hale closed his eyes for a moment, letting the weight of the decision settle. Then he looked at Saras. Let's finish this. The chamber lights dimmed. Only the biocore glowed, golden blue and alive. Hale and Saras stood side by side before it. Two human medics and Mira prepared monitoring equipment, while Rios and the security team guarded the door in case the plague made a final attempt. Saras extended her hand. Hale took it without hesitation. The biocore responded instantly. A circle of light formed around them, rising from the floor like mist. Golden strands wrapped around Saras's arm. Blue strands wrapped around Hale's. They intertwined, like two energies recognizing each other. Hale felt warmth spread through his arm, up his shoulder, and into his mind. Not painful, just strange, like hearing a second heartbeat inside his skull. Saras's voice echoed softly inside his head. Do not fear. The core is joining our thoughts so we may guide it. Hale answered silently. I trust you. The core brightened. Memories flooded into Hale's awareness, not his memories, but visions stored inside the Aurelian network. Towering crystal forests, rivers of light. Cities grown from living vines. A sky of shifting colors. Millions of Aurelians walking among bioluminescent structures. He saw the plague too. Black storms devouring everything. Erasing entire worlds in hours. He felt Saras's despair when she watched her people fall. Saras felt his thoughts as well, his determination, his fear, and the strength that kept him standing when logic told him to run. She saw the memory of him carrying her from the collapsing Ark ship. She saw the way he always faced danger head-on, even when he didn't understand it. Their shared connection stabilized the core. A deep harmonic sound filled the chamber, a vibration that shook even the metal walls. The core pulsed brighter and brighter. Mira shouted, Energy levels rising. The counter-signal is forming. Captain Rios held onto the rail as the lights flickered. Hold steady. Hale felt the plague waking across the ship. Dark strands began slithering from vents, from cracks, from old wiring everywhere. They headed for the chamber like a swarm of insects, sensing prey. Saras tightened her grip on Hale's hand. Ignore it. Focus on the core. The plague reached the sealed door and hissed violently, spreading flat across the surface like a shadow trying to break through. Inside the chamber, the harmonic wave grew louder, faster. Saras whispered, Now, Hale. Let your resonance flow into the core. Think of order. Think of stability. Hale closed his eyes. He pictured the plague hitting him and recoiling. He pictured the golden lines on Saras's skin. He pictured the biocore beating like a heart of two worlds. His blue resonance spread through the core like lightning. Saras added her golden energy. The biocore erupted. A shockwave burst outward in every direction, a wave of pure, blinding light. It passed through walls, halls, and decks. It washed over the entire ship. The plague screamed not with sound, but with strange vibrations that rattled the air. The black strands shook, cracked like stone, and then turned into dust. Dust that drifted harmlessly to the floor. All across the vanguard, the plague died. Minutes later, the lights stabilized. The biocore dimmed to a gentle glow. Hale opened his eyes, breathing hard, still gripping Saras's hand. Saras smiled, exhausted but safe. We did it. Hale squeezed her hand lightly. You did it. We both did, she corrected softly. Rios entered the chamber, eyes wide with relief. The plague is gone. Every trace of it. You two just saved not only us, but probably entire star systems. Mira stepped forward with a grin. Humans and Aurelians. Who would have guessed? Saras looked at Hale with quiet respect. My people once believed they stood alone, as the masters of biology and knowledge. But today, it was humanity that gave me strength. Hale shook his head. And you gave us purpose. For a long moment, they simply stood there, linked by the shared memory of what they had overcome. The Aurelians were not extinct anymore, not as long as Saras lived. And humanity had proven once again that when faced with impossible odds, they didn't just survive. They made the universe take notice.